Before we pray, let's just breathe. Sometimes silence says more than words ever could. Sometimes the holiest sound is not the voice that cries out, but the one that has run out of things to say. Lord, I don't even know how to begin today. There was a time when I prayed easily, when faith felt like sunlight through an open window. But lately, everything feels quieter. And I don't know if this silence means you're far away or closer than I've ever known. Maybe that's what happens when we get older. We stop expecting thunder from heaven. We stop chasing miracles that look impressive. And we start craving the small ones, like peace, in the middle of an unfinished story. You said in Psalm 46:10, "Be still and know that I am God." And yet, stillness feels impossible sometimes. My mind keeps racing through old mistakes, through unanswered prayers, through questions I'm too tired to ask out loud. What does it mean, Lord, to be still when the world keeps spinning, when the bills keep coming, when the heart keeps breaking? What does it mean to know you when everything I thought I knew about you is changing? Maybe that's what you're teaching me, that faith isn't about always knowing, but about staying. You're not asking me to fix anything today. You're not demanding that I understand. You're just whispering, "Be still." And maybe stillness isn't about doing nothing. Maybe it's the holy work of not running away. Lord, I've run for so many years, from pain, from people, from the parts of myself that feel unworthy of love. But your silence has followed me everywhere, not as punishment, but as presence. Sometimes I imagine you sitting beside me, not saying a word, just being here. And for the first time, I wonder if maybe this silence isn't empty at all. Maybe it's sacred. Maybe it's the sound of healing beginning. Because silence is where I stop performing. It's where the masks start falling, where I finally admit I'm tired of pretending to be strong. When I was younger, I thought strength was about endurance, pushing through, never breaking, never slowing down. But now I see how much courage it takes to admit when something hurts, to admit when you've lost your way, to pray without pretending. Maybe this is what maturity and faith looks like. Less noise, less certainty, more surrender. And yet, God, if I'm honest, silence also scares me. Because when everything else quiets down, I'm left alone with myself. And sometimes, I don't like what I hear. You know that part of me, Lord, the restless part, the doubting part, the part that's still angry about the things you never explained. I've buried those questions under years of "I'm fine," but you keep digging them up, not to shame me, but to free me. You want me to know that you're not afraid of my silence. You're not threatened by my confusion. You're not disappointed by my weariness. You're here, in the pause, in the ache, in the breath between one prayer and the next. God, maybe I've been confusing silence with absence. Maybe you never left. I just stopped listening. Teach me to listen again. Not for answers, but for your nearness. Because sometimes, Lord, you don't show up as the voice that fixes things. You show up as the quiet that holds me. You said, "Be still and know." But I think there's something hidden in those words. Maybe the stillness is not the command. Maybe it's the path to knowing. Because knowing you can't happen in the noise of fear or the hurry of fixing. It happens in the hush. When I stop reaching for control and start reaching for you. Lord, for so long I've tried to keep it together, to look unshaken, to say the right things. But you don't want a performance. You want a person. So here I am, a little broken, a little unsure, but still showing up. And maybe that's enough. Maybe faith isn't the fire I once thought it was. Maybe it's the faint candle that refuses to go out, even when the room feels cold. God, teach me to value the quiet moments, the ones that feel unproductive, the ones that look like waiting, the ones that feel like nothing is happening. Because maybe that's where you're doing your best work, under the surface, beyond my understanding. Let me not rush what you're still forming. Let me not despise the pause before the breakthrough. Let me not confuse stillness with stagnation, because in your silence, something sacred is being shaped. You know the weight of this season, Lord, the fatigue that hides behind my smile, the quiet disappointments that no one sees, the prayers I've stopped praying because I didn't know if you were listening. But tonight, I want to start again. Not because I feel spiritual, but because I miss you. And maybe that's what prayer really is. Not words, not posture, not ritual, just the soul missing its maker. You are still here. Even when I cannot sense you, even when my heart doubts, even when I don't know what to say. You are here. And maybe that's enough for now. Lord, let your silence wash over me. Let it soften the parts of me that grew hard trying to survive. Let it quiet the noise that tells me I'm behind, that I failed, that it's too late to begin again. Because you don't measure me by progress. You meet me by presence. You're not rushing me out of this quiet season. You're sitting with me in it. And in that sitting, something holy is happening. Something invisible but real. Maybe this is where faith begins again, in stillness, in surrender, in the willingness to stop running. So tonight, Lord, I won't fill the air with empty words. I'll let my silence become my worship. I'll let my breathing become my prayer. Because you are here, closer than my next thought, gentler than my next heartbeat. And I don't need to feel you to know you're real. I just need to rest, be still, and know that you are God. And maybe, just maybe, that's the beginning of healing.
Lord, I used to think faith meant having everything under control. That if I prayed the right way, believed hard enough, stayed disciplined enough, life would unfold according to plan. But plans fall apart. And when they do, they don't ask for permission. Jobs disappear. Bodies break. People leave. Dreams expire quietly, like candles burning out long after everyone's gone home. And I don't know how to hold what I can't fix. You said in Proverbs 3:5-6, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." But what if my heart doesn't know how to trust anymore? What if I've leaned on my own understanding for so long that surrender feels like falling? I keep wanting to plan, to predict, to prepare for every outcome. But you keep leading me to places where no map works. And maybe that's because faith isn't a plan, it's a posture. The posture of open hands, of letting go before knowing what comes next. The posture of saying, I don't understand, but I'll stay. God, I've spent my whole life trying to keep things together, to control outcomes, emotions, people, even you. I built my peace on predictability. And when that predictability crumbled, so did the illusion that I was in charge. Now I see it. Control was never peace. It was just fear wearing a disciplined face. I've been afraid to let go because I didn't know who I'd be without the plans, without the structure, without the feeling of being in command. But you're not asking me to be in command. You're asking me to be alive. And being alive means sometimes falling apart, sometimes grieving, sometimes standing still in the ruins and still believing that you are good. Lord, help me stop trying to rescue myself. Help me stop running emergency plans in my head. Because the truth is, I can't manage what only grace can mend. Teach me what trust looks like when nothing is certain. Teach me that surrender isn't giving up, it's giving over. You know how hard that is for me. I want to know how the story ends. I want to feel safe before I let go. But you invite me into the mystery, where safety is replaced by presence and answers are replaced by intimacy. Maybe this is where faith matures, not when I have control, but when I lose it and still choose to believe. Lord, I confess, I've idolized certainty. I've worshipped the illusion that knowing what's next was the same as being secure. But it never was. You never promised control. You promised companionship. You never said, I'll keep you from the fire. You said, I'll be with you in it. Maybe I've misunderstood peace all along. Peace isn't the absence of chaos. It's the presence of Christ inside the chaos. So here I am, Lord, standing in the middle of the unfixable, trying to believe that even this disappointment, this loss, this uncertainty can still become holy ground. When control breaks, what's left is the truth. And the truth is, I am not God, but I am loved by the one who is. I don't have to hold everything together. I just have to be held. Lord, I surrender the need to understand. I surrender the timelines, the should-have-beens, the constant pressure to make sense of everything. Because maybe the miracle isn't in understanding, maybe it's in trusting you without it. You said you'd make my path straight, but sometimes the path feels like a maze. I keep asking you for shortcuts, and you keep giving me seasons. You're more interested in shaping my heart than speeding up my process. So even when I don't see progress, help me remember that growth doesn't always look like movement. Sometimes it looks like staying still while you rebuild me from the inside out. God, I used to think surrender was weak, but now I see it's the hardest thing I'll ever do. It's the death of pride, the funeral of ego, the quiet release of my need to control outcomes. And in that release, I can finally breathe again. Maybe this is freedom, not having power, but having peace. Maybe I've been praying for the wrong thing all along. Not God fix this, but God free me from needing to fix this. You're not asking me to perform stability. You're asking me to practice trust. So I lay it down there, the pressure, the expectations, the anxiety disguised as responsibility. If I fall into your hands. If I lose what was never mine to keep. If I let go, I find you waiting in the letting go. Maybe the whole point was never control. It was connection. And maybe control has to break so that communion can begin. Lord, teach me to release without resentment. Teach me to let things end without fear. Teach me to believe that you are working even when everything looks unfinished. You said you would make my path straight, but maybe that doesn't mean easy. Maybe it means aligned. Aligned with your heart, your timing, your unseen grace. So even when I don't know where this road is leading, I choose to walk with you. Not because I understand, but because I trust the one who does. When control breaks, faith begins. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet, trembling yes from a heart learning to trust again. So here is my yes, Lord. It's not perfect, it's not brave, but it's real. And I believe you can do more with real than I could ever do with perfect. You can take this surrendered mess and make it holy. You can turn my uncertainty into intimacy. You can turn my fear into faith. Because when I stop trying to be the author, I finally make room for you to write. So write, Lord, write in the ruins, write in the in-between, write in the places where control used to live. Let my surrender become a story of grace. Let my weakness become a window for your strength. Let my broken plans reveal a better plan, yours. And when I forget again, because I will, remind me gently, peace doesn't come from having control. It comes from having you. So even when the ground feels unsteady, even when my hands are empty, even when everything I built starts to fall apart, I'll whisper the same words. I trust you. I trust you when I don't see it. I trust you when I don't feel it. I trust you when I don't understand. Because you are the God who steadies me when control breaks.
Lord, I used to think waiting meant nothing was happening. Now I see waiting is where you do your deepest work. Because silence isn't absence. Delay isn't denial. And what feels like stillness on the surface is often transformation underneath. Isaiah 30:18 says, "The Lord longs to be gracious to you. Therefore, he will rise up to show you compassion. For the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all who wait for him." You are not just the God who moves. You are the God who waits. You wait for hearts to soften, for wounds to heal, for faith to grow strong enough to carry the weight of what's coming. I confess, Lord, I hate waiting. It exposes everything I've tried to hide. It shows me how impatient I am, how addicted I've been to progress, how uncomfortable I feel in uncertainty. Waiting strips me of illusion. And maybe that's why you allow it. Not to punish me, but to purify me. When nothing seems to move, you're asking me to stop measuring progress by visible results. You're asking me to trust what I can't see, the slow, sacred work you're doing beneath the surface. God, why do you wait for us? Why don't you rush in, fix things, show yourself in fire and thunder? Maybe because love doesn't rush. Maybe because grace moves at the pace of relationship, not performance. You are patient, not because you're slow, but because you're kind. You wait for us the way a parent waits for a child to learn to walk. Not out of frustration, but out of love. Lord, teach me to see waiting as a sacred space, not a wasted one. Teach me to believe that your silence is not neglect, but nurture. You're growing things I can't yet name. You're preparing roads I can't yet walk. And you're preparing me too,
for what I ask for what I need, for who I'm becoming. Maybe waiting isn't passive at all. Maybe it's obedience in slow motion. There's something happening here in the middle of unanswered prayers, something invisible but undeniable. You are turning my impatience into endurance. You are transforming my desperation into depth. You are teaching me that delay is not defeat. Lord, help me stop trying to fill the silence with my own noise. Help me stop begging for updates and start practicing awareness. Because maybe you're not asking me to do more, maybe you're asking me to notice more. The way sunlight falls through the window after a night of crying. The way peace arrives quietly when I finally stop rehearsing my fears. The way small moments of gratitude break through the fog like morning light. You're in all of it, even in the waiting. I used to think you were on the other side of delay. Now I realize you're right here in the middle of it. You wait with me. You wait when I'm restless, when I'm doubtful, when I want to give up and move on. You wait not because you're stuck, but because you're faithful. You wait for me to remember who I am, to remember who you are, to remember that the point isn't the promise, it's the presence. Lord, you are not in a hurry with my healing. You are not anxious about my timing. You are patient with my becoming. You wait through my questions. You wait through my anger. You wait through my numbness. And somehow in that divine patience, my heart starts to soften. My fear starts to loosen. My breath starts to slow. Maybe this is what grace feels like, not fireworks, but a steady rhythm of mercy that refuses to leave. You're teaching me that faith isn't proven by speed, but by stillness. Because when I wait on you, I stop living like time is my master. I stop treating every delay as disaster. I start seeing time as something holy, a gift held in your hands, not mine. Waiting becomes worship, not the kind that sings loudly, but the kind that listens deeply, the kind that says, I trust you enough not to rush you. Lord, you waited for Abraham to believe, for Moses to mature, for David to become ready, for Mary to say yes. You waited for the right moment to send Jesus into the world. Not too soon, not too late. You are never late. You are never early. You are always right on time, even when I don't understand your calendar. So here I am, God, learning to breathe in the slow pace of heaven. Learning to believe that what feels delayed is actually divine. I don't want to run ahead of you anymore. I don't want to keep forcing doors that aren't meant to open yet. If you're still writing the next chapter, help me not to skip ahead. Help me stay present in the paragraph I'm in. You are the God who waits. And somehow, in that truth, I find rest. You wait for me to return when I wander. You wait for me to forgive when I resist. You wait for me to heal when I hide. And you never rush the process because you love me too much to let me arrive unready. Lord, help me to wait like you wait, with compassion, with courage, with calm. Help me wait without bitterness. Help me trust that what's delayed is not denied, it's developing. If you can wait for me, then I can learn to wait for you. Even when prayers go unanswered, even when silence feels endless, even when I'm tempted to believe you've forgotten. Because I know now you're not only the God who answers, you're the God who abides. And sometimes abiding is the greatest miracle of all. So I'll stay here, Lord, not passively, but prayerfully, not demanding, but listening. I'll stay until waiting turns into worship, until fear turns into faith, until hope feels like home again. And when I grow impatient, because I will, remind me of this truth. You waited for me long before I ever waited for you. You waited through my stubbornness, my pride, my wandering years, and you never left. So I can trust you now, because the same patience that held me then is holding me still. You are the God who waits, and in your waiting, you're teaching me how to love, because love always waits, always hopes, always endures. And maybe that's what you've wanted all along. Not my hurry, but my heart. So I'll slow down. I'll breathe again. And I'll let you teach me that waiting is not wasting. It's where you and I meet most honestly.
Lord, there are scars I still try to hide from you, as if you don't already see them. The wounds I cover with busyness, the pain I disguise as strength, the disappointments I've learned to smile through. But tonight, I don't have the energy to pretend. I can't keep calling healing what still hurts when I touch it. So here I am, Lord. Not strong, not polished, just open. Paul once wrote, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12:9. I've quoted that verse 100 times, but I never understood it until my strength failed. Now I see. Your grace doesn't decorate my life, it holds it together. You heal me not by erasing the pain, but by entering it. You don't stand at a distance waiting for me to get better. You sit beside me in the mess and whisper truth into the ache. And slowly, the wound becomes a meeting place. The scar becomes a story of survival. Lord, why do you use broken things to reveal beauty? Why do you build altars out of ashes and call the shattered holy? Maybe because that's where love shines the brightest. Not in perfection, but in redemption. You don't waste anything, not even the pain I caused myself. You recycle it into wisdom. You shape it into empathy. You turn it into strength I couldn't have earned any other way. But I confess, God, sometimes I resent the process. I want resurrection without crucifixion. I want wholeness without breaking. I want to skip the part where I bleed. And yet you meet me there, in the exact place I want to avoid. You remind me that healing isn't a moment, it's a becoming. Wounds teach what comfort never could. They teach me humility, because pain has a way of stripping away illusions. They teach me compassion, because the healed understand what it means to hurt. And they teach me dependence, because I finally realized I was never the healer. You were. Lord, help me stop fearing the scars. They're not proof of failure, they're proof of faithfulness. They remind me that I went through fire and didn't burn alone. There was someone in the flames with me. Maybe that's what you've been showing me all along, that every time I thought you were absent, you were simply working in a way I couldn't see. When the nights were long and my prayers fell flat, you weren't ignoring me, you were holding me steady. You were teaching me that pain is not punishment, it's invitation. Invitation to deeper trust, to deeper intimacy, to deeper surrender. You heal me, God, by showing me that nothing I've been through can separate me from you. Not the divorce, not the failure, not the betrayal I still don't understand, not the death that took more than I was ready to lose. Even here, in the raw, you are gentle. You don't rush me, you don't shame me, you don't demand that I move on. You sit with me until I can stand again. And when I do, I realize you never left. Maybe the true miracle isn't that you fix everything. Maybe it's that you stay when everything breaks. You're not the kind of healer who avoids the wound. You're the kind who touches it and calls it holy ground. Because the wound is where your glory hides. The pain is where your power is revealed. I used to think I had to be unbroken to be useful. Now I know you use the cracks as channels of grace. Every scar becomes a sermon. Every tear becomes testimony. You are writing redemption with ink made of my own tears. Lord, teach me to bless the parts of me that still ache. Teach me to see healing not as forgetting, but as remembering differently. Not as erasing the past, but as reclaiming it with mercy. Maybe healing doesn't mean the memory disappears. Maybe it means it stops controlling me. Because you've touched it, and everything you touch changes. God, sometimes I wonder if you let us bleed so we can learn to bandage one another, so we can recognize pain in others and offer the same comfort you gave us. That's how grace multiplies, not in sermons, but in scars shared in tenderness. The healed become healers. The once broken become bridges. That's the quiet revolution of the kingdom. The sacred recycling of suffering into strength. So when I look at my wounds now, I'll stop asking why me and start asking, what are you forming in me through this? You're forming patience. You're forming perspective. You're forming peace. You're forming a new version of me, one that doesn't flinch at imperfection because I've seen your face in the fragments. Lord, thank you for not answering every prayer my way. Some of the no's were mercies in disguise. Some of the losses were lessons I couldn't learn in comfort. You took what the world called broken and made it beautiful. And though I wouldn't choose the pain again, I wouldn't trade the intimacy it produced. Because in the darkest moments, I didn't just learn about you, I met you. And now I know, you are not just the God who heals, you are the God who feels. You feel every tear, you enter every ache. You don't flinch at my fragility, you embrace it. So, let the healing continue, Lord, not in perfection, but in presence. Heal what still trembles when I remember. Heal what forgiveness hasn't finished yet. Heal what grief keeps reopening. And as you do, teach me to see others through the same mercy, to recognize their pain without judgment, to honor their process without rushing it. Because if you're patient with me, I must learn to be patient with them.
Lord, let my healing become hospitality. Let my scars become safe places where others can rest. Let every reminder of pain become a reminder of grace. And when the next wound comes, because life always wounds again, help me not to panic, but to remember you're already there, waiting in the ache, ready to turn it into something holy once more. You never waste pain. You never lose control. You never stop redeeming. So even in the breaking, I will bless you. Even in the ache, I will trust you. Even in the silence, I will sing. Because I know healing is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of becoming whole. And every scar I carry is proof of a love that refused to let go.
Lord, I never thought trust would be something I'd have to relearn. I thought it would just return once the pain passed. But pain leaves shadows, and sometimes the hardest thing to rebuild is not a dream, but the heart that dared to dream it. I want to trust again, but part of me is afraid of the next disappointment, afraid to believe too deeply, to hope too openly, to love without guarantees. And yet, here you are, inviting me back into faith, not as a demand, but as a whisper. Trust me again. Jeremiah 29:13 says, "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." Maybe that's what you've been waiting for. Not my perfect faith, but my honest heart. Because trust doesn't grow in certainty. It grows in surrender. It begins where control ends. Lord, I used to think trust meant knowing how things would turn out. Now I see trust is choosing you even when I don't. It's standing in the fog and believing there's still a sunrise behind it. It's walking through the valley and remembering that shadows only exist because there's light nearby. Trust doesn't erase fear. It walks with it. It doesn't silence doubt. It decides who gets the final word. And you, Lord, you are still the final word. So I open my hands again, not because I feel ready, but because I can't live closed anymore. The walls I built to keep pain out have kept peace out too. The armor that once felt like safety has become a prison. And I'm tired of carrying myself, tired of overthinking every step, tired of praying with one hand open and the other still clenched. So here, take both. Take the part that believes and the part that doubts. Take the trust that feels strong and the faith that's still trembling. You never asked me to be fearless, just faithful. Because you know trust isn't instant. It's formed in layers, through loss, through waiting, through every moment I thought you'd left and discovered you hadn't. Lord, you've proven yourself, not through explanations, but through endurance. You stayed. You stayed when I questioned you. You stayed when I ran from you. You stayed when I had nothing left to offer but tears and silence. So if you stayed then, why would I doubt you now? Teach me to see trust not as a leap into the unknown, but as a return to what's always been known, your heart. Because you've been here since the beginning, before the wound, before the fear, before the loss. You've been steady, like the rhythm under all my chaos. You're the God who waits, the God who heals. And now I see, you're also the God who rebuilds. You rebuild faith from the fragments. You rebuild courage from the cracks. You rebuild love from the ashes of what was lost. So if you can rebuild galaxies out of nothing, you can rebuild me too. Lord, teach me to trust you in the slow places, in the prayers that take months to bloom, in the stories still being written. Trust me to believe that what's delayed is not denied, that what's quiet is not empty, that what's painful is not purposeless. I want to live like I believe you again, not just with words, but with posture, with breath, with rest. Because trust is not performance, it's presence. It's sitting beside you without needing answers. It's knowing you are good even when life isn't. So I'll practice. I'll start small. I'll trust you with the morning light, with the conversations that scare me, with the people I can't control, with the dreams that still ache. I'll trust you with my story, the one that didn't go as planned, the one that's still unfolding. Because maybe the goal was never perfection, but partnership, not certainty, but communion. You don't want a polished believer, you want an honest one that keeps coming back even after breaking, one that prays, I still believe, help my unbelief. So here I am, Lord, believing again, not blindly, but bravely, believing that every closed door was a kind of protection, believing that every detour was a redirection, believing that every not yet was mercy in disguise. You have never failed me, only surprised me. And if I've learned anything through all this, it's that your surprises are always better than my strategies. So I'm letting go of control again, not because I've mastered it, but because I finally understand that surrender isn't loss, it's alignment. When I trust you, I don't shrink, I expand. I breathe deeper, I see clearer, I love freer. And maybe that's what you've been doing all along, stretching my capacity to receive grace. You've turned my fear into faith, my wounds into wisdom, my waiting into worship. So even if I don't know what tomorrow holds, I know who holds me. And that's enough. I can trust again, not because life got easier, but because I've seen who you are when life gets hard. You're not the God who demands perfection. You're the God who delights in progress. The God who celebrates every small yes. So I say yes again, Lord. Yes to your timing. Yes to your way. Yes to your presence. Yes to trusting you, even when I tremble. Because I've learned, faith doesn't erase fear. It gives it context. And grace doesn't always remove pain. It redeems it. So let this be the prayer that marks my becoming. I will trust you again, even if it's slow, even if it's quiet, even if it takes the rest of my life. Because you've never stopped trusting me to grow, to rise, to return. And I will. You're not done with my story yet. And for the first time in a long time, that doesn't scare me. It sets me free. So here, Lord, in this simple, sacred moment, I lay my heart back in your hands and whisper what I once forgot how to say. I trust you. Fully. Finally. Again.
Lord, we've walked through shadows, through waiting, through wounds, and now we stand on the threshold of trust renewed. Thank you for not leaving us alone in the silence, for staying when everything else fell apart, for teaching us that faith is not the absence of fear, but the courage to walk with you in it. We surrender the need to control, the constant striving for answers, the pressure to perform perfection. We release our plans, our timelines, our fears, and we place them gently into your hands. Thank you for the brokenness that became a doorway to grace, for the nights of weeping that taught us compassion, for the waiting that shaped endurance, and for every scar that whispers your presence. Teach our hearts to rest, not in the absence of struggle, but in the certainty of your love. Teach us to see your hand in the ordinary, your mercy in the moments we thought lost,
and your faithfulness in the quiet spaces of our lives. May our wounds never become shame, but reminders of your sustaining power. May our fears never harden into walls, but open doors to deeper intimacy with you. Help us to trust again, fully, and without reservation, not because life is predictable, but because you are steadfast. Not because everything is understood, but because your presence transforms even the unknown into sanctuary. Lord, we rest now, breathing in your grace, exhaling all that weighs us down, and receiving the gentle peace that only you can give. We are yours, broken, mended, waiting, trusting, and finally free to simply be held. Stay close, Lord. Guide us, form us, walk with us, and let our lives, even in their fragility, be a testimony of your endless love. Amen.